Hey, welcome back. So, let's jump right in. If you've ever read the Bible, if you're a Christian or if you're just curious and you've been perusing the Bible and stumbled across a passage in Hebrews 10, and I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit, but it basically says, if you continue to willfully sin after reaching the knowledge of truth, there remains no sacrifice for you, but a terrifying expectation of judgment. And so the face value conclusion of this is, if you've come to know Christ and you continue to sin or do the things that you believe are sin, you've lost your salvation. The problem is, everybody does this. Everybody sins. You're going to continue to do things that you don't want to do throughout your entire life. And so the problem is, you read that and it just creates anxiety in you, and people have stumbled over this passage forever. However, if you really delve into it, that's not exactly what this passage is talking about. And I was on Facebook not too long ago, and I have a friend on there, Jeff and Wendy Whistler, and they did an awesome job articulating really what this passage is trying to say, or is saying. And instead of reinventing the wheel, I'm going to just share exactly in his words what that passage is saying. Willful sin. What is it, really? Hebrews 10:26. I've seen these verses used to scare the hell out of people. Literally. Religious folks use these verses to try and make people behave in a certain way. And many fear being lost due to its misuse and misunderstanding. So let's get this straight today and be free from fear and condemnation. Hebrews 10:26. For if we keep sinning willfully after receiving the knowledge of truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a terrifying expectation of judgment. How much more severe punishment do you think he will deserve who has trampled underfoot the Son of God, and has regarded as unclean the blood of the covenant by which he was sanctified, and has insulted the Spirit of grace? So first, we need to properly define some things because their misuse is at the heart of the problem. So what is sin? Sin is not doing wrong. Wrongdoing is the fruit of sin. Sin is wrong thinking, or more specifically, wrong believing. To make it even more simple, sin is simply thinking that you are somehow separated from God and not acceptable. It is believing that you lack something with God. So what is the knowledge of truth? This is the understanding of what is true about you. From this, we can now begin to see what this verse really means. To paraphrase verse 26, quote, if we go on willfully thinking we are bad after finding out that we are in fact good, unquote. Now, do you see the difference? This isn't a verse about behavior as much as it is about the heart. Every Christian I have ever known has willfully done wrong things since coming to the truth. And under the theology of religion, we would all be doomed. Thankfully, it doesn't mean what most teach. Let's go further. The result of believing you are not good is a fear of judgment. Anyone who doesn't feel righteous will feel guilty. And guilty people fear being found out and caught. So if someone isn't willing to accept God's declaration of goodness, all that is left is a fear of judgment. They create their own hell, as it were. With this understanding, we should now also see what it means to truly trample Jesus underfoot and regard the blood as unclean and insult the Spirit of grace. When one refuses to accept God's declaration of goodness and instead feels guilty, begs God to forgive them, or thinks themselves a lowly worm and considers themselves unsaved or not born again, they are insulting the Spirit of grace. They're calling God a liar, and they're calling Jesus worthless. Religion will tell you that you are not good enough. It will tell you that your behavior excludes you and that you've done too much wrong for God, or that you must strive to be better. All of that is a lie. God's declaration is that all have been made perfect. All are good. And God is not angry. This is the gospel that Christ brought. And to consider ourselves, or anyone for that matter, less than that is an insult to the Spirit of grace. So, today, stop striving to be good. Stop trying to get right with God. Accept that you are, and begin to rejoice in that goodness and the blessings that God has for you. As we see our goodness in Him, so do the blessings flow without hindrance. And as a byproduct of our seeing goodness and love, we ourselves walk and do goodness and love. Be free today. Do not let the enemy steal your joy and hope. And as verse 35 says, therefore, do not throw away your confidence, which is your goodness, which has great reward. So I hope that helps. I know that as a young believer, I struggle with those verses. Also Hebrews 6, which is very similar, and I'll probably do another one just on that verse alone, because it also is misinterpreted a lot and brings a lot of anxiety and condemnation if you read it and take it at face value. So, moving forward, know that God loves you more than you could ever know. And as far as He's concerned, you're sinless. Be blessed.